So we have started working on the house this week. We spent an entire week working, making this place look absolutely beautiful. It's been a wonderful start. We got the video coming out next week, but we decided to take a few afternoons and just do something kind of cool. So we made this little waterfall on the cliff. And here's the thing, it really wasn't that hard. It really just took a couple of days of trial and error. So we're gonna kind of show you the little bit of a process that we did, and it's really simple if you wanna do something like this. And keep in mind, you don't have to have a pond, you don't have to have a cliff. There are lots of ways you can make this happen, even in your own yard. Now, if you live in an apartment or something like that, I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably a good way to get kicked out. Make sure you join us next week. It's gonna be week 1 of our new challenge. We're gonna be transforming this place, not just the house, but also the land. And make sure you stick around to the end of this video. I wanna share something pretty special with you. All right, let's get to it. As you can see, this right here is kind of the perfect place to run this water hose, right here between these rocks. Hopefully it's going to work out and spread it out and make a waterfall like we want. If not, we'll adjust it. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to run it down the crack. We're going to take another large boulder, put it right on top, and you won't even know where the water's coming from. We'll see how it goes. All right, so here's the water pump that we're going to be using. We actually got this from Ace Hardware. And basically how it works is you run the water hose right there. That little float, when you put it in the water, the float goes up and it tells the pump that it's in water. It'll actually pump water out of the creek, all the way down the water hose and down the waterfall. Now the creek will eventually run out when it gets hot and dry later in the summer. So if this thing is running nonstop, what will happen is that float will drop to a certain point and then it'll actually shut off automatically. So it even has a built-in kind of fail-safe system to keep it from burning up. So that's the next step. Okay, so apparently I didn't put this water hose in a very good place. It's too far from the extension cord, so we're doing it again. Okay, so the water is on, and for some reason I put the camera right where the tree is, so you can't even see anything, but there's really nothing happening. The ground is pretty much just absorbing it, so we decided to move it again. That wasn't the best idea. So Pop pretty much just walked it down the hill, tried it on the rock, but it still wasn't close enough, and there really just wasn't enough water coming out of the water hose. But once we got it down lower on the cliff, it actually worked pretty decent, but again, not super impressive. Hey, we're getting water trickling. So Pop decided to go for a swim and show the boys that it's safe in the water, because we actually saw a snake and a snapping turtle. And for some reason I accidentally recorded all this in slow motion, so it's kind of like watching Baywatch. See if I can get over. So then he decided to walk across this log and see how strong it is, how hard it would be to break, and yeah, let me just tell you, Pop's balance isn't quite what it used to be. How about we watch it again? Okay, one more time. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. He admitted that he did that on purpose. He tends to mess with my kids a little bit because they're sometimes pretty gullible, but they know him too well. My son actually said right after, "Pop, did you do that on purpose?" They know him. So I have two different phones that I record with. This is my personal phone, and it fell over, and my little receiver that I just bought today is the first time I've used it. It broke. Good thing is it's only this piece here, but it's like a little ceremonic thing. This thing actually works really good, but yeah, don't drop it. There's not much holding it in. But other than that, it worked pretty good. All right, so it's a new day. So as you can see, we kind of moved the waterfall around a little bit to kind of see what it's going to look like at different parts of the rock. But we've got a few ideas how to make this a little more elaborate for a very cheap price tag. So we'll see how that goes. Now here's a couple of cool things about doing these waterfalls. One, we're using a pump. So we're able to pump water out of the creek into the pond, which means we're not wasting water. It's just circulating from the creek to the pond. The second thing is that Pop ended up building up the dam to kind of make the pond a lot fuller. So now we're bringing the water in to actually bring it up quite a bit. And once we get maybe another pump or two out here and get a little more water coming through, this thing's gonna look really cool. And honestly, we've been brainstorming nonstop, and we got even more ideas than we can actually keep up with right now. You never know what we're gonna do every week. The ideas are just flowing, just like that waterfall, just flowing.
Okay, so obviously that water hose wasn't super impressive, so while I was at work, Pop went to the store and bought a 1.25 inch hose, and this is the result. Much, much cooler.
Okay, so version 1, pretty successful. Now eventually we are gonna go bigger. But hey, it just shows you don't need a whole lot to make something kind of cool. You know, honestly, you could really just build up a bunch of rocks, stick a water hose in it, and heck, you could do it in your swimming pool. Heck, you could do it into a kiddie pool. Actually, it'd be kind of cool. I would have really liked that as a kid. Heck, you could do it into a slide, a water slide. What? Oh my gosh. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? We're gonna have to do that eventually. I'm gonna tell you something, there's quite a few places on this land that I would say is my favorite spots. But this one right here on this little rock island, it's gotta be my favorite hands down. I mean, it's right in the shade. I got the creek all around me. It's so peaceful. That water's ice cold, by the way. But it's, yeah, I love it over here. You know, it's funny how everybody's so different. You know, my dad, he's got a couple of places that he just considers to be his favorite spots. And I've got mine, and some of them are pretty different. So, hey, so this is something that we wanted to share with you guys. It's something we've been praying about for a while. And we figured maybe we'll kind of run it past you guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments. So, we have a very big vision with this land, 17 acres. As you can tell, tons of cliffs, tons of ponds, tons of creeks. Well, one pond, but we might make some more. But what we're thinking about doing is maybe even starting a church. It's something that me and my dad have both wanted to do for a long time, and we have this idea of doing somewhat of a church in nature. You know, you go to churches and they have lots of fun stuff for the kids. There's always like basketball courts, TV, video games, all that stuff. I've been to churches that have climbing walls, all this kind of crazy stuff, right? But I started thinking, what if you could start a church that really had to do with nature, and it was fun for kids and adults? What if you had a church that you could go to, and after church you could barbecue some burgers with your family? You can go fishing in the pond. You can go swimming in the pond. You can go play in the creek We have the waterfall where we can do our own baptisms, you know. There's a pavilion that we're actually talking about building, and it's actually going to be right over the pond. And what we're going to do is wrap the whole thing in glass. So that way, even in the winter, you can still have church and see nature and see everything that's going on. And of course, in the summer, everybody can have a good old time hiking, and there's just so much you can do out here. And I'm believing God, too, is going to expand our borders, just like it says in the Bible. I believe that God's going to expand our borders and make it bigger and bigger. Not for us. We got plenty of space. But if this church really is something that God wants us to do, I'm believing for big things. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started. We are literally just getting started. So let me know, is this something you think we should do? And the second thing is this something you would support? Is this something that you would give to support? Because I'm telling you, a good church is hard to find these days. I had a lot of people saying in the comments, Pastor Travis. I'll be honest with you, I don't really feel like a preacher. But I do love the Word of God. I do believe that knowing exactly who Jesus is according to His Word is very, very important. Not necessarily my opinion. We all have opinions. That's why we have, so many denominations. Everybody's got their own opinions. And I'm not saying I would be the preacher necessarily, but I don't know. It's just something that we're thinking about, praying about. We're blessed to have this YouTube platform, but I believe with all my heart, God did not give us this land just for us. And I said that from the very beginning. This is not just for us. And I think we're starting to see the idea pan out. Dad even had an idea, too, to put asphalt on the ground leading to the pond and building a deck where even handicapped people can come up on a wheelchair, sit under the waterfall, and just feel the creek water running over their shoulders. We just have such a beautiful vision. And the whole purpose of this thing is to glorify Jesus Christ. That's it. That's why we're doing this. So if this is something you guys would want to support, something you believe in, just let me know what you think. This is one thing I want to say, too, to encourage people. If you feel like you're not good enough, maybe you're not great enough at speaking, maybe you're not handsome enough or beautiful enough, just do it anyways. I don't know if you noticed, but, I've got pretty pale skin. I'm freckly. My eyes, I had an eye infection about a year ago that actually scarred my eyes. It's like I could let stuff like that keep me down. I could sit around and just say, why am I this way, God? Why did this happen to me? But I am who I am. You are who God made you to be. Things happen in our life that we can't control. And we just live life anyways. We just do it anyways. The most important thing is, are you going to be obedient to Jesus? Because He's obedient to us. So it's just something to think about. Don't let anything in your life hinder you. Just do it anyways. Man, this never gets old.